Hi everyone, welcome back or welcome if you're new. I'm doing a voiceover today, which is a bit unusual for me, but I thought I would just play in my creative journal slash art journal. If you saw that, it was housed in a gorgeous Helen McLean leather cover, and it's a Leuchtturm 1917 sketchbook. I've got some swatches in the back there, and I've done some spreads already. You can see those. I might link them for you actually, so you can watch those, because some of them are on the Hobby Hoppers channel and some of them are here on mine. And I thought I would just kind of journal one or two of those photos. Turns out I'm just doing one of them. And so right now I'm just looking through my vast collection of papers and offcuts and magazine pieces and quotes and all those kinds of things. I have sped up the video to be just 2 times, and the whole video took me about 2 hours to film, not including drying time, because we've got some painting happening in here, which was good fun. So yeah, about 2 hours, but it's edited down to just 20 minutes. So some of the pieces take a fair bit of time, coverage, painting coverage, and then going through all of these pieces as well. I did a video recently where I showed, talked through my process of choosing ephemera, if you like, from magazines, like how I go through my magazines to choose what I want, and how my mood kind of changes throughout the year. So a magazine becomes a new place to look again, even though I've been through it before, because suddenly my mood is different and I'm looking for different types of things. So today I just wanted something to accompany those photos, and it's an A5 journal, so those big pictures I can't really use. I've actually been thinking about getting an A4 journal for those bigger pieces, but I'm not going to commit to that yet. Perhaps next year, maybe a job for next year. So I'm going through all these little quotes here. I collected those over the years, many, many years now, probably 10 years. I have lived in Melbourne for 7 years now, and I started collecting these back when I was living in Brisbane. So it's a long time, from a couple of very favourite magazines of mine. And yeah, they just live here, and I go through them every now and again and pick out ones I want to use. Sometimes I don't actually stick that in the journal itself. I might hand letter it and just use the quote as a reference, but they get looked at pretty often, and yeah, I do use them as well. Little images in there as well, just things that strike my fancy while I'm flipping through magazines. So, I have kind of missed being in my art journal. I haven't done anything in there for ages. I've had a fair bit of travel recently, and work is quite a large part of my life at the moment. I mean, it always has been, but it's been really busy lately. So, I haven't had all the time that I've wanted to have. So, noticed that I was going to cut that, and then I decided to tear it instead. I think many of us like a torn edge rather than a sharp edge. And I think, for the process that I'm about to put this through, I think it goes well to have the torn edges. So I've got a couple of quotes, well, a quote there and a title. I've kept that floral on the left of where it says blossoming creativity at the top there. But spoiler alert, I think the flowers aren't going to stay. But I do have this line of flowers across the bottom. I've used part of it before. It was a very big spread. And I've used part of it before in my little A6 creative journal last year. And I really quite enjoyed how that turned out. Hated it when I first did it, but every time I go back to it, I love it even more. So I really wanted to experiment with my acrylic paints. These are Atelier acrylic paints, and they're the pastel set. So they're already pre-mixed pastels, which is cool. And I just chose the colours that I wanted. There's a mint, a lilac, a coral, and a yellow. But I think I add a couple more colours to it soon as well. And I came into this without really any plan. I'll tell you more about that when I get to a part that I'm going to add later. But I didn't have a real plan. All I knew was I wanted to put like a wash of colour over the whole page, but I decided not to go wet. I just wanted to have the paint on its own. Because it is pastel, it's already quite mild, if you like, so there's no need for it to be watered down, I don't think, and it always just takes so much longer to dry that way as well. So I have got a little cup of water there at the top of the frame, and I just wet my brush before I started, and I do use it to wash off between colours sometimes. I haven't done it every time because I'm not that fussed. I am kind of blending them together anyway, and I'm not going, obviously not going for perfection here. Very happy for it to just be messy and fun. I really wanted to get into the messy vibe for this one. I do have a limitation to the messy. You'll see a bit later when I make a bit of a mistake and have to then figure out how to fix it. So I quite like keeping the mistakes in. A lot of people might remove those from the footage, but I like to show it because, you know, we all do make mistakes, and I think sometimes it's nice to see how people recover from the mistake, because that can teach other people how they might recover as well. And it's always nice to have a chat about those recoveries in the comments as well. So I thought I would just put this wash of colour on, and I probably, oh yeah, you can see at the bottom of the little palette there, I've just used a acrylic stamp block there for my palette. It's from Stationery Palette. It's a really big one and I really like it. So I added a bit more, another colour at the bottom, a pink. So I had the lilac and the coral, but decided to add the pink as well. I think I thought the coral was pink when I was squeezing it out of the tube. Alright, so this is just some tissue paper. I think we saw earlier it was a great big sheet of tissue paper. And it's from a handbag store called Mimco, sort of Melbourne brand. And it was just this massive piece of tissue paper with all these butterflies in browns, purples, and blues. So I've just torn kind of a fairly neutral section of that. You can see a bit of the blue at the bottom there. And I will use a bit more of that later with some other colours. And here's just some, this is a fabricy paper. I don't know how to describe it. It came with a bunch of flowers, like it was wrapped around the flowers. So I keep all of my floral arrangement kind of pieces and use them wherever I can. I kind of wanted to just mute this photo a little. I mean, it's my face, so I don't know. I just wanted to mute it down a little. I thought it was just a bit too stark. In hindsight, I would probably, when this is finished, I would have liked to have added some black. And I actually did try to add some black, but what I was using didn't work so well. Like it wouldn't, it was a pen, and the pen didn't really work so well. So I tried it on a piece of paper first and then decided not to go with it anyway. But I think, and we'll talk about this maybe a bit more at the end, but I think what's missing from this spread is some contrast. I feel like it ended up being, it could have done with some contrast at the end. And I do have a really cool water-soluble crayon, black crayon, that I think would have been good to try in this instance, and I bought it specifically a while ago for exactly this type of thing, and I didn't even think to use it. I had kind of had a different vision in mind. I wanted to do a Posca paint pen spread here, but it didn't turn out the way I wanted, so you'll see the mess I make in a minute. But I think I recover pretty well. Okay, so we've got that lovely floral across the bottom. Like I said, that was just a spread from a magazine. I've just torn it out. I've used pieces of it elsewhere. That's the last piece now. And the photo is just printed on my Canon Selfie QX10. So it's a square photo printer, and it prints on this like a Polaroid style shape, because it only prints a square photo. And it is a sticker, so it's sticker paper. So it's cool because it's sticker paper, but I'm not actually using it as sticker paper in this instance. I'm just sticking the whole thing down. I just didn't want to get my normal printer and paper and stuff stored. I think actually I'm out of one of the inks, and it's always a pain to remember which one it is, and yeah. So I just went with the little Canon selfie because it's so easy to use. So I've layered that sort of fabric from the flowers underneath, and then the photo, and then another piece of tissue paper on top, and it's a pattern tissue paper. Again, it came with another handbag delivery from a shop called Oriton. And yeah, it was a massive piece of white tissue paper with the Oriton logo. All right, here's the Posca paint pens. I have this Lawn Fawn stencil here. It's a really lovely stencil that is little hearts all over it. And I decided I wanted to do Posca paint hearts all over the spread. Now, I'm not sure. I think what's happened is that the stencil isn't really made for this type of paint, and I'm not sure. I'm going to try it again, on just a piece of paper and see what happens. But it really smudged. The hearts didn't hold their shape. Probably too much paint came out of the pen, and it seeped under the stencil, so it's made a giant mess. So I went ahead and tried to draw some hearts instead, and they turned out fine. But the ones that have been done with a stencil have smudged. You can see the one on the photo, at the top of the photo there, is really freaking me out right now because it's very smudged. It's not the shape of a heart at all. So same with this one at the bottom. So I was bringing in some more of that tissue paper, that butterfly tissue paper, to cover up those crazy hearts that are a bit ugly. I'm just tidying up as well some of the other hearts where there's just too much paint has come out. It might be because it's on top of the acrylic paint. I don't know. Let me know if you've tried Poscas on top of acrylic paint before, but I'm not sure if that's what happened. The acrylic paint was pretty dry. It wasn't like perfectly dry. I didn't leave it overnight or anything, but it was pretty dry, and it is a fast drying paint. But putting the Posca on top, it was just too much paint coming out. So I have popped that on there. It's a bit stark for my liking, so you'll see I'll do something with that a bit later. But still, I'm not too bothered by it. Like I said, I wanted kind of a messy look anyway, so that's what we're getting. And I've decided to cover up that other heart at the top there. I just kind of gave up on the heart idea, and it just wasn't working for me, and it's kind of giving me a bit of stress thinking about it. So I decided to grab some more of that tissue paper. It's so pretty. You can see that one there. It's got the big butterfly on it, and just using those to cover up those little mistakes, and then I'll deal with the rest of the spread in a second. I really love the Blossoming Creativity there. I love that magazine, the Breathe magazine, because it does use that scripty font a lot, and it combines it with a standard font at the same time, which always, I think, looks great together. So here I've just grabbed some more of the paint. The paint's just been sitting there the whole time. It didn't dry out, so I just used a wet brush with a bit of the colours that I'm using to cover up those edges, kind of just to try and blend the paper, the tissue paper, into the background. So, this top one here, I've got the coral paint going over it, so we're kind of muting out those darker colours in the tissue paper. I do like how it's turned out, but I also wonder if I should have just left the darker colors showing. I think not. For me, I'm a pastel girl, so for me, I think muting them works for me, makes me happier. So anyway, we'll see how the whole thing turns out in a minute. But I do love the tissue paper adds that texture as well. So it's a very nice spread to run your fingers over when you're leaving. I don't know if that's just me, But I love walking through a journal and just touching the page when you've got a lot of texture on there. In my little A6 Hobonichi from last year, I'd have tons of pages with tons of texture, vellum and tissue paper and die cuts and all sorts of things, lots of things actually. Even PET tapes with that really shiny softness, smoothness, I mean, that's, all adds to the, what am I trying to say? It all adds to the experience of the notepad itself, or the sketchbook. So back to the Poscas. I really wanted to use them, and it's a pastel set, and they kind of match this acrylic set perfectly. They're really great colors. I love them so much. So I'm just doing some little kind of mark making here, some dots and some X's or crosses, I think they are, and that seems to really work for me, I think. So it is giving it that bit of contrast, but it's a Desley contrast, a muted contrast rather than the black. I will do a spread with the black in the future. I really want to use that crayon. I haven't even used it yet, and I've had it for ages. So that'll be coming when I get a bit more adventurous. But I've also added the quote there as well. Hopefully you'll be able to read it. It's actually a quote from Yoko Ono, and I really liked the quote. I thought it was a really nice sentiment, so and an interesting one as well. So I'm just kind of matching, in a way, the Posca paint pen with the background so that you get that tone-on-tone kind of contrast, which I really like. And I think I like the way it's turning out. It's soft, definitely very soft and muted. Super keen to hear what you think as well. Because I think when it's your own work, you kind of get a bit lost in it sometimes and can't really tell whether it's good or not. And I don't really matter if I don't really mind, if it's not good. It was fun to do and super therapeutic and super stressful at times when that paint leaked under my stencil. But it was fun to do, and I like the way it's turned out. So I'm not finished yet. I've still got a bit more to do here. I'm going to add some more wash of paint over those tissue papers again as well. So a little bit extra to come. But it was a good fun to do, and I highly recommend. Here I decided to extend that Posca into the white florals at the bottom there, just to kind of tie them all in together. I think they worked without it, but it's also nice to bring them in as well, I think. It just kind of brings the whole spread all together. So yes, I'm pretty happy with it, mainly because it was so much fun and gave me, the time to add some more things to this journal. And I've taught myself a few things as well. Like I've kind of figured out a few things as well. So that's always good for the process, to be able to understand the limitations of your products and what you can and can't do with them. So I've never before, well, not never, but I often don't think about, like I'm doing right now, where I'm putting the paint marks onto the quotes and the other things that are elements that I've brought in. And I think that's a mistake not to do that, because that really does make it more a consistent look if you're pulling those elements all together by giving them a similar treatment. So I think here I was thinking, am I done? I might just put a few more spots in here, but I think I'm not done. I think I've still, that bit of blue at the top right there, I'm pretty sure I'm going to cover up. I'm not certain actually. I can't quite remember. It's been maybe 2 months since I did this, so I'm not quite sure what my decision is here. I think I'm going to add, there we go. I thought that was coming. So I think I've just got is that coral or is that white? Yeah, I think it's the coral. So I think it works to do it like this. I think the blue was too much. It was too different to the rest of the spread. There's no other blue there at all. So just muting that down with the coral paint over the top, I think really just works for me. For me anyway. I'd love to hear, as I said, what you think and what you might have done differently. I enjoyed it. It was really nice to just sit and do this. And I think I did it without speaking because I really wanted to enjoy the process. So that's why I just decided to record it as a voiceover instead. All right, I think we're wrapping up now. There's only a couple of, maybe half a minute left. We're going to put it back in the cover, I think. So presto changeo, we've got a drying time complete. And now hopefully I show you. Yeah, I do. Okay, so then that you can see there, it's dried now. So the spread is complete. And as it's dried, it's kind of muted the whole thing out for me. And I really do like how it's nice and muted. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. See you super soon. Bye.